everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alicia and I'm a sous chef with a sweet tooth. And today we're going to be making a delicious fall-inspired dessert and one we get at work all the time, a keto pumpkin pie ice cream. So let's get started. Now, I'm like any girl, I love fall, and I especially love Halloween time, so I'll be coming at you with some Halloween videos soon, hopefully, if I can get them done before Halloween. This recipe, I've been wanting that ice cream at work. We actually haven't been able to get it this year, but every year's past, I make milkshakes out of it, and it's just amazing. It has like pieces of pie crust in the ice cream, and it's like a pumpkin-flavored ice cream. So I took this recipe. This recipe is a little inspiration from a couple different places. I've never made a pumpkin ice cream before, but I've made a lot of low-carb ice cream. So I looked up some recipes and they all had about a cup of pumpkin puree in them. I decided to cut it down a little bit to make this more low-carb because a half cup of pumpkin puree is 7 grams of net carbs. So I didn't want 14 in this whole batch just from pumpkin. So we're gonna get a lot of our flavors from the seasonings we're putting in it. Now this one, it called for a teaspoon of cinnamon and then a teaspoon and a half of pumpkin pie spice. I don't have pumpkin pie spice on hand because I just have tons of seasonings. Pumpkin pie spice, it's 4 parts cinnamon, 2 parts ginger, 1 part I think clove, and then like a half a part nutmeg. So I basically made my own pumpkin pie seasoning. And in the recipe down below, I put that in there. But you can just use 1.5 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. So I got all that mixed together, and then this recipe is loosely based off of King Arthur's site. I did some alterations, obviously. So I have a half cup of pumpkin puree in here with 4 egg yolks. And then in his recipe, he put some xanthan gum in it. And if you watched any of my other videos, I'll link some of my ice cream videos throughout here. I put gelatin in most of my recipes, but I believe that the xanthan gum might do the same thing. So it's kind of a test on this one, but I know it's definitely allulose that keeps my ice cream soft. So if you want really soft ice cream, definitely pick up allulose. I'm gonna do a combination of allulose and golden monk fruit in this one because I want that richer brown sugar flavor for the pumpkin pie. I'm also going to add some dark rum to this. I've also heard that alcohol helps your ice cream from freezing too hard, so I'm going to have some of that in there too. I'm going to add all my spices. I also changed the method of making this from the King Arthur site. So he did more of like a custard. He whipped up the eggs and sugar together, and he heated the pumpkin and spices on the stove. So I'm kind of doing the opposite here. But this is what I normally do for my ice cream videos. So I figured, why mess with it, right? So I have my heavy cream and my cashew milk, obviously to make it less carb. And then I got my allulose and my golden monk fruit in here. I'm gonna heat this on the stove just till it starts simmering a tiny bit around the edges. And then I'm gonna temper my pumpkin and egg mixture with the hot cream. Cashew milk and cream are almost done over there. So I got my bowl. I'm gonna grab my ice bath. I'm gonna do the ice bath method where I just keep it in the refrigerator on ice water and keep stirring it. And it usually cools down within 20 minutes so that I can churn this right away. A little bit of cream at a time. Oh, and I always forget, you wanna add a pinch of salt to this also. Just to do a little cracked of sea salt in there. Pouring it back in here so I can make sure I scrape this bowl and get all the pumpkin. I'm gonna strain it back into this bowl, and then we're gonna add our 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract and our 2 tablespoons of dark rum, or you can do a bourbon, whatever you'd like. And then we are gonna get on to the pie crust part of our pumpkin pie ice cream. Okay, so while that's chilling, I have my oven on. I just turned it on to preheat to 400 degrees because we are going to be making a keto pie crust to break up into here. I'm not sure if it's going to taste the same as the one that I've had at work, but it's worth a shot, right? and I can let you know if it's good or not. It's kind of, we're just testing this recipe. It's a Keto Connect recipe, and I've always wanted to try it, and I had it on my Pinterest, so I figured instead of trying to make a pie crust, which basically what I wanted to do for a pie crust, I was just gonna do coconut flour, some xanthan gum, some cold butter, and a little bit of water. Their recipe is, I mean, almond flour, coconut flour, xanthan gum, an egg, butter, and cream cheese. So it's not far off from what I would consider a pie crust anyways. And I was thinking the addition of the cream cheese would actually be kind of good with the pumpkin because, you know, pumpkin cream cheese muffins are delicious. Their recipes seem pretty easy, so I'm excited to give this a try. So I don't use this very often, so this might take me a minute. This one, woo, it's on. Did not know that. Okay, so I have the coconut flour, almond flour, and xanthan gum in here already. So I'm gonna turn that to off because I wanna just pulse. I don't wanna go real fast on it, but this thing is fast as hell. This Hamilton Beach that I got is crazy. Like even the pulse is like, woo. So I'm just mixing those together. And you would normally, in their recipe, you'd add salt. I'm using salted butter, so I just left the salt out. But that's just me. I don't buy two different kinds of butter most of the time. I already cubed up my butter and my cream cheese. I have them chilling in my refrigerator. So the next step is adding that to this and just pulsing it until you get like a small coarse crumble. And then you just add one beaten egg with some stevia, which I bought the brand that they use specifically because I've heard that different brands have different concentrations. And I do like their recipes, and I tend to try some of theirs more than other people's. So I did buy their brand that they use. I gave my ice cream base a little stir in there while I was there. So we're gonna put this in here and just pulse it up. That's what it says. Okay, so that looks about right to me. I don't want to handle it too much, but you just see like little tiny clumps of flour and butter in there. So I think that's good. I'm gonna add in, I just beat up this egg a little bit and I put the stevia right in here. Then just pulse it some more. I'd say that's starting to form a dough, so I'm gonna stop there. It said not to overmix. Which that's with any kind of pie dough, you do not want to overmix, because then you'll just have tough crust. So it says to put it out on parchment paper and form it into a disc and then refrigerate for 30 minutes. I think I'm gonna pop it in the freezer for like 10 minutes because I don't want to wait that long. This is another time you don't want to work it too much with your hands because when your hands touch this, it's gonna start melting the butter and you don't want melted chunks of butter in there. I'm just gonna form this into kind of disc. It actually came together quite nicely. I'm not a huge fan of almond flour texture, which is why I would have just done all coconut flour, but I didn't really want to mess with this too much. I figured this would work for what we needed it for. I'm gonna do kind of a flat disc so that it cools faster instead of like a ball. Wrap it up, throw it in the freezer, then we'll roll it out. Okay, so my dough's been chilling for about 10 minutes in the freezer. Now this isn't gonna be a really good test of this pie dough just because I'm not doing it exactly like, I'm not doing it in a pie shell. I actually put the temperature down on the oven because they had it baking at 425 and then 10 minutes through, you're supposed to like cover the edges with like a pie crust shield or tin foil. We're not gonna need that, so I actually just put the temperature down to 400 so that it didn't cook too fast and the edges didn't get too brown too quickly without like the middle getting cooked. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. I don't think we're gonna need all this dough either, so I might trim it up and save. You can freeze this dough, I think it's set up to like 3 months in the freezer. So I might save it to do some other recipes with. I want it pretty thin. This is actually a lot of dough for even a pie pan, I feel like. I don't want the edges super thin because they will definitely burn if you have them way thinner than the middle. I'm gonna give this a little trim. Probably only need that much pie crust. You can see the cream cheese and butter, so I'm hoping that's gonna make a really good crust to have in this. When you cut it too, you can kind of see the thickness that way, which it is still really thick, so I'm going to definitely roll it out more. We don't need all this. I think that's good. I'm just going to give it one more trim around. This is a little bit thinner, so trim that off. It's already starting to get warm, so it's going to start falling apart. It's definitely a secret to this pie dough is to have it very cold. So it's about 1/4 inch thick all the way around. And I'd say that's about half the pie dough. Maybe a little bit more. Probably should just cut it right in half in the first place. Probably would have made it a lot easier to figure out macros and such. But that's a nice little piece that we can have for something else. I'm going to actually flip it onto this piece. That's nice because I actually have some cuts in this one. So I have a baking sheet here. I'm just going to flip it onto it and peel this off. Hopefully it peels off okay. Oh, the little, see that's where the cut was? That's why I was afraid it was going to mess up there if I baked it on it. There you go. Okay. Now it says to dock it, which means just putting some holes in it. Again, it doesn't really matter for our purposes, really, if it puffs up a little bit. But if you're putting pie filling in, I do want to dock it, definitely. Okay, so I'm just going to keep an eye on this. It said 10 minutes, cover the crust, and then 3 to 5 minutes to bake the rest. So I'm just going to start with 7, and then I'll turn it, and then try like 5 and see where we're at. I don't want it to get too dark. Crust is out of the oven. I did 7 minutes. I turned it, and at 4 minutes, it looked good. So I'm just gonna set this aside. I'm gonna actually take it off the pan and put it on the table. That way it'll cool faster. Ice cream base is cold. I'm going to turn on my machine and put this in there. And then once this is going, we'll break up our pie crust. And I'm gonna give it a try because I've never actually had it before. We'll see if it tastes good. Let's go. Okay, hopefully that should only take 20 minutes. Now that it's not insanely hot outside, this should actually work a lot better. It's weird that during the summer you want ice cream and it's harder to make. And during winter time, it's easier to make, but a lot of people don't eat ice cream during the winter. I'm not one of those people because I love ice cream no matter what time of year. Time to try this guy. Definitely looks nice, like something I would say is like kind of like a flaky pie crust. It is a little chewy, which is nice. I might add a little bit more sugar next time I make this, but other than that, it is good. And I think it's gonna work good in our ice cream. Can't wait. I'm just gonna break this up into pieces and have it ready to go. Don't think we're gonna need all this, and I do not know the macros on this yet, but probably the less crust we use, the lower the macros are gonna be. It's just about done here. I'm gonna grab my bowl out of the freezer that's chilling, scoop it, and add some pie crust. Looks like pumpkin ice cream. I want all that ice cream, so I'm gonna set it on the lid that's for my bowl. That way, whatever melts, I'll still have it. I'm gonna scoop a little bit and put some pie crust. I want it in all different directions. I put some flat, some sitting up. One last layer of pie. And we just got a little bit left in our bowl to throw on top. I think that'll be good. Looks very creamy. So we're gonna pop this in the freezer and we will probably be back tomorrow to give it a taste. But I gotta admit, I did take a little taste of the ice cream and it was delicious. I'll be back to try it with the pie crust. See you then. So the ice cream has been freezing overnight. I made a little bit of a cinnamon whipped cream. I just used some of the liquid stevia, a little bit of cinnamon, and a little bit of vanilla. Now I recommend, the thing was, my cinnamon's kind of old, and so I don't think a lot of the cinnamon flavor came through. I've been meaning to buy a new jar of cinnamon for the longest time and always forget when I'm at the grocery store. So it definitely does make a difference if your spices are new or not. So that's why I want to add a little bit of cinnamon whipped cream. So I put a bunch of that in here, and I'm going to sprinkle a little cinnamon on top also. Like I mentioned earlier about the nutmeg, I'm not a huge fan of nutmeg, so Next time I make this, I'd probably just cut it out all together. But if you do use the pumpkin pie spice, that's gonna automatically have some nutmeg in it. I'm gonna get this ice cream out and get it scooped and try it for you guys. Super soft. I think it's that extra rum in there that makes it super soft. So this made about 5 cups of ice cream. I figured out the macros. It's only 3 grams of net carbs for a half cup. So not bad at all. So putting the little extra whipped cream on it, I don't think is gonna make too big a difference. Plus I just want it to look pretty. And then I also have my Chalk Zero caramel syrup, which, like I said, we had this ice cream at work. And before I was, eating healthy, I used to make the pumpkin pie ice cream milkshakes. And I'd put caramel syrup in them. Oh my God, so good. So I'm going to decorate this with a little bit of caramel syrup and the whipped cream. A little sprinkle of cinnamon. A little drizzle. Time to dig in. The pie pieces held up really well. They're like a little bit of, like sometimes you have like graham cracker in your ice cream. It's so good. It is so good and creamy. Yeah, I don't even like pumpkin pie, but I love pumpkin in things like pumpkin bread. I love pumpkin bread. This pumpkin ice cream is amazing. That is a home run. This is so good. It's not even 11 right now and I'm scarfing down ice cream. Gotta stop. I hope you try this recipe at home. It is definitely a fall recipe. If you're one of those people that love ice cream all year round and you want a fall type ice cream, it is perfect. I want to thank you guys, the subscribers. I hit 250 subscribers. I just want to thank you guys. I love doing this. I love helping others to stay on a diet like I've never been able to do because I always missed desserts. And being able to create awesome desserts and still sticking to a diet is amazing to me because I always felt deprived everywhere else. So I just want to let you know I really appreciate it. I did set up a Patreon page. I do have the link below. I would love to grow this channel more and maybe someday in the future be able to bring you even more and better content, and that'll definitely help me do it. So if you want to do that, check that link out. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys.